Hey people, welcome to the Angels, Babes and Bitches show with me, Ruby. My guest today is Chiara. Chiara is Italian and has been living in Finland since 2015. She has been a flight attendant with Finnair and also makes polymer clay jewelry for her brand MonVes. The link to her website can be found in the episode write-up. I'm going to chat with Chiara today about her life as a flight attendant. Just a small disclaimer. Chiara is not the official spokesperson for Finnair. This is her own personal story as a flight attendant.
Hi, Ruby. Thank you so much for having me today.
I am so glad to have you. I think this will be a very interesting chat, and I'm sure many people will want to hear about it. So, I'm sure that many people are in awe of flight attendants. It's this kind of job that people think it's very glamorous. So, you are a flight attendant. Do you really think it's such a glamorous job?
Well, for sure, it is a very glamorous job in some ways. Imagine that every time you go to work, you have to look the best version of yourself. And you have to be nice and wearing a shiny uniform. You constantly smile and you get to travel all over the world, basically for free. But the job itself, I would say it's very far from glamorous. It actually requires a lot of patience and most of all self-discipline and steady nerves, especially during unexpected situations such as first aid and safety duties. But however, everything looks much more glamorous when you wear a smile and you have half ton of makeup on to cover your eye bags.
I'm still trying to figure out what exactly is the charm of a flight attendant. I mean, everyone has this vision somewhere in their mind. But for you, it's a regular job that you have been doing for the last 1.5, 2 years. So, what inspired you to take this as a career?
Yeah, for me, it indeed became just a regular job. But I have to say, I always thought about being a flight attendant. But I took courage and determination to seriously apply for it only in 2017, because I was working in Helsinki airport as a customer service representative. And every day I was looking in front of me a lot of groups of cabin crew and pilots who were walking together, smiling and professionally looking. And they were going for who knows which kind of exotic destination. And also in 2017, some of my friends became flight attendants. And I was so jealous of their travels and of them having so much fun at work. And me, I was just sitting all day in Helsinki airport doing this office job. So I decided to go for it. And I applied for both Finnair and Norwegian with the base in Helsinki. And eventually I got the job with Finnair.
You aspired for
Yes.
this role and you actually got it.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
that's a very it's very good because many people aspire to be many things, but they don't actually end up doing that. So many women and men, I think, have a thing for people in uniforms and flight attendants. Definitely have this very attractive and, as you said, very like the shiny uniform. Do you think this makes you more attractive as a woman, or people look at you differently once they know that you are a flight attendant?
I don't know if people found me more attractive when I was saying I'm a flight attendant. At least I never noticed. However, the uniform can make a huge difference. Especially, imagine it's 4 a.m. in the morning and you need to wake up to go to work. I so hated the morning shift. I was more like an evening and night shift flight attendant. But my mood and confidence surely increased when I was looking at myself in the mirror with my hair and makeup nicely done. And I was wearing my uniform and I was suddenly more happy to go to work. So definitely, I would say that you feel more confident and you look better when you have a uniform on. So I'm not surprised that people have a thing for people in uniforms.
Yes,
So yeah, and for example, now with my current job, I usually wear pajamas or sweatpants the whole day because
yeah,
I'm working remotely for now.
yeah.
And sometimes I so miss the feeling from wearing the Finnair uniform because my confidence was much more high when I was going to work. So I think it's a mix of everything. When you wear a uniform, you feel confident, you feel nice, you feel like you look really good. And as a consequence, people always look at you.
So, as you said, or you were saying earlier that you used to see all your friends going from, like flying to different
Mhm.
destinations. So, what exactly does a flight attendant do in various cities? I mean, my image, and I'm sure many other people have this image, is that they feel that flight attendants party and shop at every destination they're at. Is that true?
Nowadays, flight attendants' work trips are getting shorter and shorter. So sometimes you only have 24 hours at the destination, which is really limited time. So it's very difficult to, I would say, to party, knowing that you just finished a 12-hour shift. But one of my weaknesses was shopping. I have to admit
Yeah.
that living in Finland, where you can find very limited products, and then you can go basically to Bangkok, to Japan, to United States, and then surely most of my salary was spent on shopping, I would say. Especially, I really love beauty skincare products. So every time I was going to Asia, I was spending a lot of money on that. So with the shopping thing, I have to say it is true. We shop a lot, especially as coming from Finland, where, as I said before, you don't have many brands and you don't have many options when you go shopping.
Yeah, I think this is something good for people to hear that yes, shopping true, but parting maybe not so much because 12 hours
Mm,
is a very long time for any person to work in any
mm,
kind of job. And I think this is even more demanding because
mm.
you are in a customer service kind of role. So it's always keeping your best front of yourself to the customer.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and also you need to have like you need to be awake and ready for emergency situations.
So I have friends who've been flight attendants when I was living in Singapore, and I have heard that the dynamics between the crew at times can be a bit competitive. And I don't know whether this is true or not, but it's something that I'm curious about. So, do you all work well together in harmony?
Well, I know that some airlines have competition as company culture. For example, giving incentives for the crew who perform better and so on. But this is very far from the European working culture. So I would say that in the airline where I was working for, we always worked in harmony as a team. Also because we all have the same goal, having a safe and pleasant flight for everyone, the passenger, but the crew members as well. One of the things I miss the most is my dear colleagues from Finnair now during this COVID time, because I was always happy when I was going to work, as I knew I was going to have a nice, supportive, and cooperative colleagues. So it depends on the airline, it depends on the country, but I would say in Finland and in Europe in general, there is not so much competition as a company culture in airlines. It's more about being supportive and having the best flight for everyone, both passenger and crew members.
That sounds very ideal because that's very good and healthy, actually, work culture. And the fact that you miss your colleagues and you want to spend time with them, that only says so much about Finnair and its culture in general.
Mm,
And when I started having this chat with you, I definitely thought that I will keep it light and fun and not have too many like serious questions in this. But I do have one sort of like serious question because you fly to so many different parts of the world. On which sector do you find the most demanding customers? And what kind of demands do these customers have?
at least before COVID-19, people can fly anywhere, no matter where they are from. So, for example, a flight for Shanghai or Shenzhen can be easily full of Western businessmen, and a flight to Lisbon can be full of Asian tourists. So, I would say the sector doesn't matter anymore. But I think that despite the nationality, there are some type of passenger who can be demanding. what I found more stressful to deal with were the issues about the food. Because people think that we have a restaurant with a fully equipped kitchen in the airplane. But in fact, we don't. We only have few ovens, so not microwaves, but ovens in which we are allowed to warm up only the catering meals. So sometimes passengers come and say, can you please warm up this for me in your microwave? But I have known, I'm so sorry, but I have known. And also, if we don't have anymore the chicken meal, unfortunately, we cannot create it once we are up in the air. So for me, it was very difficult sometimes to explain this to an angry chicken lover passenger or the passenger who brought food from home. So I always suggest everyone to simply pre-order the food if they want to make sure they get what they want on board. So this is something I really found something so simple, but yet something so stressful to deal with when people don't understand that we don't have a real kitchen on board. So that was the most demanding customers for me.
Yeah, I think that's a good tip for all our listeners if they're not doing this, and if they're really in one of these like groups of people who need special food, then they should always pre-order their food. I always have these either practical or sometimes kind of naughty questions, but mostly like practical questions for all my guests. So my question for you is, and this is like kind of naughty, I think, that are all the pilots really hot and handsome? I'm sure all girls want to know this. It's so important to know this, I think, on some level. And again, I'm not trying to objectify men at all. I'm just asking what is on everyone's mind when they think airline and flying.
Yes, well, again, the uniform here can make the trick if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that usually the whole airplane crew is very handsome, just like any face-to-face customer job. I'm thinking also about the cruise ships crew, for example, or in the luxury shops, the employees. Actually, I know that there are airlines that just hire some type of flight attendants and pilots that fit into some kind of beauty standard, but not in Finnair. They mainly look for brilliant and fast adapted people than the look itself. And I have a boyfriend also while I was a flight attendant, so nothing really ever happened. However, yeah, of course, I still could use my eyes, and I spotted some very attractive pilots. But well, again, everything looks much better with a uniform.
Yeah.
Either is man or woman.
Yeah, so it's the charm of the uniform.
Yes.
Really, I think is this, what do you say, fantasy in people's mind when they see somebody with a uniform. I don't even know whether fantasy is the right word. Is this image when
Yes.
they see someone in a uniform? Even though, of course, it's very apparent that it is a job with very long hours of work, demanding customers, and you have to always, how do you say, put your best foot forward, like all the time. So tell me, is there any one downside of this job that you think that makes it completely unglamorous?
Yeah, for me, I would say the worst downside was that my body was so bloated all of the time. And I'm a very sportive person, so I regularly exercise between gym and volleyball, and I follow a very healthy lifestyle. However, when I was flying, it was very difficult for me to win the battle against the air pressure to be in a good shape. And this was something that sometimes made me feel very unhappy about my body. And let's not forget about cleaning the toilet during the flight. I mean, it is absolutely not glamorous to deal with vomit or even worse. So yes, and not to mention also when, for example, you wake up in Barcelona and for a few seconds you don't know what time is it. How did you end up in this unfamiliar room? And most of all, where are you? This really happened to me sometimes. So jet lag can be very tricky, especially when you constantly have to live with your eye bags due to the lack of sleep.
Yes, I mean, yeah, there definitely, like every job, this is
Mm,
finally a job that all of you do. And there has to be parts of it that are not very glamorous. And again, it's very apparent from this chat that this is a job that you have to work really hard in.
yes.
Yeah, I think right from cleaning toilets to, serving demanding customers and handling them to traveling and really things not being good with your body in some
Mm.
way internally. I think after hearing Chiara, I want to maybe change my profession, but I think I will stick to podcasting for now. Uh,
Okay.
I think to end this podcast, Chiara is most definitely a sexy babe, not because she's a flight attendant, but because she has chosen a tough career which has its glamorous moments, but a lot of unglamorous ones as well. Thank you, Chiara, for being on my podcast today. It has been a
Thank
real
you, Ruby.
pleasure talking to you.
Same for me. Thank you so much for having me.